With MMA increasingly becoming its own style, striker versus grappler matchups are becoming increasingly rare. Yet the forthcoming matchup between Mateusz Gamrot and Rafael Fiziev promises to be exactly that. When you look at their backgrounds on paper, you have Fiziev, who fought at the highest levels of Muay Thai against two-time European ADCC submission grappling champion Mateusz Gamrot. It may seem slightly at odds with how Gamrot has been promoted and how he describes himself to see him as a submission grappler rather than a wrestler, but if you look at his credentials on paper, this would be a logical conclusion. If you factor in his performances in the octagon, I think it would be fair to say he's a grappler who is as good at jiu-jitsu as he is at wrestling. In order to get a sense of each guy's strengths and weaknesses, I think it would be good to see where each fighter has come unstuck in the past. A fight in which Gamrot had problems and probably lost was against UFC veteran Norman Park. In the first round, not much happened apart from a Gamrot failed takedown and a successful takedown from Park off a core kick. In the second round, Gamrot secured his one and only takedown of the fight. He looked like he was progressing position, however after Park complained of what looked like a broken nail, the referee stood the action up. In the third round, Park pressed the action and he repeatedly stuffed takedowns from Gamrot. However, whilst he was stuffing takedowns, he wasn't landing too many meaningful strikes. In the end, the judges gave arguably a hometown decision to Gamrot. Personally, I would have given the decision to Park. That said, Gamrot could have been hard done by, in that the takedown he secured was cancelled out by a referee's stand-up for a foul that was hard to make out. The next fight where Gamrot had problems was against Guram Kutateladze. Gamrot secured a takedown in the first round, but lost control after a scramble where both guys went for leg locks. At the beginning of the second round, Gamrot was dropped by an overhand left from Kutateladze. Towards the end of the round, he landed a takedown, but he didn't secure control. The third round was the best round for Gamrot, with multiple takedowns and ground control time. The next fight I'm going to focus on here is between Gamrot and Dariush. Gamrot started the fight with a poorly set up shot that was easily stuffed by Dariush. Gamrot's second takedown attempt would almost get him in trouble, but after a scramble the fight reset on the feet. There would be more close grappling exchanges through the first round in what was a very close round. In the second round, Dariush started to take over striking-wise, using a well-timed and diverse attack. He would continue to defend Gamrot's takedown attempts. At one stage, he landed a counter knee on a Gamrot shot, but it looked like it caught him on the collarbone. To begin the third round, Gamrot rolled for a leg lock off a failed takedown attempt. This is a tactical move that would have surprised many going into the fight, considering Dariush is one of the best grapplers in the UFC. Dariush would continue outstriking and outwrestling Gamrot through the third round. A knockdown from Dariush at the end of the third round would put the punctuation mark on what had become a very dominant performance. The final fight I'm going to focus on in any detail here for Gamrot is against Jalen Turner. The first moment of significance came with a Gamrot takedown. However, perhaps showing better octagon tactics, Turner stood up against the fence. Later in the round, Gamrot failed to finish a takedown despite a tight body lock. Turner would drop Gamrot, who managed to secure a desperation takedown. At the beginning of the second round, Turner would again drop Gamrot. Gamrot would turn the fight around to an extent by securing a takedown. From there, he moved to a crucifix position where he did damage. The third round would repeat the grappling pattern of the previous rounds, with Gamrot securing takedowns from which Turner would stand up. In the final moments, Turner would attempt a whizzer kick, which would backfire. Next, to look at Fiziev. The first bout in which he had problems was against Magomed Mustayev. Not much to analyse here, other than that he's not unbeatable on the feet. The other bout in which Fiziev had difficulties was against Justin Gaethje. Early in the fight, both fighters managed to score with kicks. Through the first round, Fiziev continued to score with kicks, especially the liver kick. Towards the end of the first round, Gaethje took a shot which was stuffed. In the second round, there were several clinches which Gaethje seemed to get the better of by hitting on the break. Going into the third round, it was 1-1, with Fiziev landing a hard right at the start of the round. Towards the end of the third round, Fiziev faded and Gaethje took over. He had particular success with a very stiff jab. So having seen where both fighters have excelled and struggled so far in their career, I think it would be fair to say that Gamrot has found it difficult to set up shots. No one has really been able to crack Fiziev's takedown defense in any significant way so far. Gamrot so far hasn't quite lived up to his credentials as ADCC European champion. Even if you say it was partly his wrestling skills that led to his success in that event, Gamrot would undoubtedly have had to engage submission specialists at some point during these events. One thing that Fiziev could have going for him in this fight is that he's a very patient striker. With Gamrot's style of wrestling being based around very intermittent explosions on shots, Fiziev is a type of fighter who can maintain concentration to sprawl and not wade in with strikes where Gamrot could counter-wrestle. Gamrot likely has the cardio advantage in this fight. However, it is possible that he may struggle to find an effective way to weaponize that in this fight. Unlike Justin Gaethje, he rarely uses dirty boxing in his fights, and with Fiziev coming from a Muay Thai background, he could hurt Gamrot in the clinch. Personally, if I had to go with the most likely winner, I would go with Gamrot, as I think the grappler usually beats the striker in these types of matchups. He does live up to his nickname of the Gamer, and I think the takedown will likely come at some point, probably not on the first try. From the takedown, I looked at him securing a Kimura against Jeremy Stephens, and the crucifix against Jalen Turner, as the types of things that will probably happen against Fiziev. That said, equally, I wouldn't be surprised if Fiziev knocks him out. Let me know in the comments how you see this going.